Hi, Andrew here, and I want to talk a little more about the peculiarities of the human brain. Not in detail, obviously, that's not my area of study, but it's something that I am certainly interested in, especially as I try to work through my mental health issues. But recently, sometime in the summer, I think it was, a friend of mine said to me, Andrew, do you have an internal monologue? And I said, yeah, I thought everybody did. Doesn't everybody? He says, no, I've heard that people don't. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, doesn't make any sense to me. But it popped up again. And I put it out of my head. I didn't really think too much about it, but it popped up again. Turns out somebody posted on Reddit that he heard that there are people who think in words. And this completely blew his mind because he had never thought in words. He did not have sentences. He did not have a voice in his head saying the things he was thinking. And in other words, he didn't have this internal monologue. And it completely blew his mind that people were like this. And he went on to talk about how he deliberately chose to start thinking in words, in language, and it changed his outlook. And that was fascinating to me because, again, it was a conversation I'd had previously, and and after I had it, I discussed it with my boys, and they all have this internal monologue. But I get to noodling with it, and I got and I thought back. I have at separate times studied four different, languages, three non-English languages, and could converse in those languages at different times. And the thing that I noted was I really considered I was getting a facility with the language when a couple of things happened. One was that I was thinking in the language. I wasn't thinking of what I wanted to say in English, translating it, and then saying it in the other language. And the reverse, hearing it, translating it into English so I could understand it. I remember vividly in the fall or winter of 2004, 2005, I was walking home from Pilates or yoga. And I was standing on the street corner waiting for the light to change. And I heard somebody say, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. And I remember thinking, I don't think it's going to snow. My knees aren't bothering me. This was in Beijing. This was not a foreign English-speaking person saying it. This was a Chinese person talking on the phone. I heard his half of the conversation, and I understood it in Chinese without having to translate it into English. And I noticed around that time, if my wife and I were having lunch in a restaurant, almost invariably, we would be practicing our Chinese. We'd be conversing in Chinese and trying to order and whatnot in Chinese in the restaurant, and that almost invariably led to a Beijinger, is striking up a conversation with me, because as much as a cosmopolitan city is for China, there's not a lot of day-to-day interaction or even irregular interaction with foreigners amongst the Chinese population, or at least there wasn't, 16 years ago? 18 years ago? Good. Oh, sorry, it was not the fall of 4. That was when I was teaching English in China. I was in Beijing in the fall of 6, maybe? 5 or 6. So it was a little bit late. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 16 years ago. I remember when I was in France as a kid, and again, these moments really impress upon me, that I was cooking steak over an open fire. And I remember I was cooking it further because the family that I was staying with was eating it blue, and raw meat was really gross to me. And they're laughing at me and asking why I'm burning my meat. I was cooking it up to medium. Come on, I was 14. Anyway, and I remember thinking, my dog eats cooked food. Why would I, but I held that conversation, and I remember looking at my host family father and saying, this whole conversation was in French. You win. What? I don't think in English anymore. I think in French. And he applauded me and shook my hand, because that was the whole point of me going there, was to be able to be conversant in the language. But through all of this, I can remember through my whole life having these conversations in my head. And to find out in my 50s that 50% plus or minus a bit of the population doesn't do that they don't think in words, they think, I guess, in images. But do they think? I mean, is the answer to the question, what you thinking? Nothing. Is it genuinely that? Is it those of us with this internal monologue, we simply can't shut it off? The brain is always thinking about something. It's always vocalizing it. The words are going through our head. I don't know. What does that mean for your ability to process mathematics, language? Is this the difference between an artistic mentality, an artistic mindset that sees things in images and emotions, versus a a logical, more for the sake of scientific mindset that sees things in terms of order and regularity and lining things up? I don't know. I don't know. What does it mean, anything beyond that? I don't know. It's just simply fascinating to me. Certainly interesting. Certainly food for thought. Anyway, thanks for watching. That was my time. Now is your time. And in the meantime, keep on thinking. Take care of yourself, and you'll see me soon.